Welcome to Leveraging Inspiration, the Inspired Patent Podcast. This is the last episode of Season 13. Over 13 weeks, I have shared 51 podcasts, and now this is Podcast 52. I will share my story, who I am, and how I became a patent attorney. I'm Wayne Carroll, your host, here to share valuable insights, stories, and strategies for succeeding in intellectual property. Let's dive into the game of IP and learn how to win. This podcast is not legal advice, but is strictly educational and informational. Listening to this podcast or reading show notes does not establish an attorney-client relationship. So we're going to talk about me, who I am. When I was born, I wasn't breathing. I was underweight and I had to go into the intensive care unit and stay in the hospital for a few days. I was sick a lot as a child, and my health was a challenge, but I still loved outdoors, camping, Boy Scouts. I played soccer, not very well, but I still had fun. I earned my Eagle Scout, and today I still volunteer with the Boy Scouts, now called Scouts BSA. I grew up in Colorado with a large family, 9 siblings, so a total of 10 kids. I was fascinated by machines and how things worked. At 5 years old, my family went to Disneyland. And what interested me the most at Disneyland was an escalator that was under repair. So they had taken it apart and you could see parts of it. So I stopped and I thought that was amazing as a 5-year-old. And I started looking at it, and the rest of my family walked on into the crowds and they lost me. So I was, somebody finally realized I was a lost child. They took me there. There's a children's lost and found, or at least there was many years ago in Disneyland. So if you lose a child, you go to the child lost and found. When I was in school, I was pretty good at math and I enjoyed math. So when I graduated, I went to DeVry University. It has technical programs, and I went into a program for electronics engineering and earned that degree. While I was there, I wanted to do another degree. My grandfather was an inventor. He worked for Bell Labs and he obtained several patents with Bell Labs. My father, he earned an MBA. And so I wanted to follow in their footsteps and earn a degree beyond my bachelor's. But I couldn't figure out what to do. I explored some things before I graduated, but couldn't find anything. So I decided to go into industry. I worked as an engineer. My first career was an engineer in the semiconductor industry, working on these very complex machines that are multi-million-dollar cameras. Take the picture of the microchip, expose it at a microscopic level onto a silicon wafer. A whole bunch of amazing machinery involved. So I was working on those machines, making sure they ran well and fixing them when they were broken. I got to learn a whole lot about a whole bunch of different systems. When I took that job, I was still exploring, what am I going to do? I grew up going to church, usually big family. You expect, that's religious. So yes, I grew up in a religious home. I learned to pray and to get answers. And there were times where I definitely felt strongly that I had received answers to my prayers. So as I was seeking career paths, I was praying as well. And so I thought, well, I'm an engineer, an MBA, there's always management needed with engineering. And so I prayed and prayed and prayed about, should I go get an MBA? And I wasn't getting an answer. And I finally, in one of my times of prayer, got a clear answer. The answer was, you need to make a choice. So I felt God telling me, I need to make a choice. I need to put my foot on the path and actually take action and continue to pray. And if it's right, he'll let me know. If it's not right, he'll let me know. Well, I did that. I said, I'm going to go get an MBA. I started researching schools. Okay, what school do I want to? What do I need to get in? What do I need to do? And started taking the steps, expecting I was going to do this. And it did not make sense. with my technical undergrad, the programs were going to require me to go back to school for a year or more full time to be able to get into an MBA program. And that definitely felt like going backwards, which I didn't want to do. So I got my answer was no after I actually worked on it. And shortly after that, I was introduced by a friend to a patent attorney. And I loved that idea. I wanted to be, an inventor. My grandpa was an inventor. I loved the idea of working with inventors and helping them. And so I started pursuing that, and that felt right. And I didn't have to go backwards. You don't need any special degree other than an accredited degree to get into law school. You need to get accepted and all that. And so I found out there's a separate exam to become a patent attorney. And you can take that exam before law school, and you can file patents for people as a patent agent. Well, I decided, my goal is to be a patent attorney, so I figured I'd try to pass the test before law school so that would be out of the way. So I studied for a few years and prepared to go to law school. I took the test. I didn't pass it before I started law school. And then I took it again my first semester of law school and actually passed it. So when I was in law school, I was a patent agent, and I did work on a couple of patents while I was in law school. And then when I got out, the person that I was introduced to as a patent attorney by my friend, I asked him to be a mentor for me and ended up starting my own practice in Arizona. Patents are federal, so I can work with people all across the United States. And so I worked getting clients from Arizona as well as other states. And, starting a law practice is hard. Starting a business is hard. And I struggled. I worked hard, made some money. And after struggling for several years, I got called by a recruiter. The recruiter said, "Hey, we've got this great job for you. Do you want to take this job?" And after the struggle of working my own business, I said, that sounds good right now. So I actually shut down my practice, worked carefully for pretty much a whole summer to make sure my clients knew where to go to get help, make sure they had all the information they needed so that they would be handed off and taken care of, because the law firm I was going to didn't want my clients. They wanted me to come and work for their clients. And so I did that. My timing was bad, though. This was just before the 2008, 2009, that crash affected technology companies really hard. And so the clients I was working with, they were struggling, and they pulled back a ton of work that they were doing. So this law firm I was working for said, "We've got a lot less work. Sorry, you're the low man on the totem pole, and we got to feed our people, and we can't feed you." And so it is what it is. And so I went and ended up working for somebody else for a while. And after 5 years of not working for myself, I decided I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it again. But this time I started by working with business coaches, learning what is it that I actually need to do to succeed. And it was still hard, but I learned and I gained the tools that I needed to succeed as a business owner. And that's what I'm still doing. I'm still working. I'm still learning from mentors, from others. And at the same time, I want to share with others. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast, is to share the things that I've learned. A lot of them, of course, I've focused on patents and trademarks as an attorney, also copyrights and trade secrets. Most of the work I do is focused on patents and trademarks. It was 2013 when I started again. So this is my current firm, Inspired Idea Solutions. I started in 2013, and having run a business once, paying rent and all these things, I decided I've got a big enough house. I am going to take a room in the house and work from the house. So I started that in 2013. We finally renovated a room and made it better. And so when COVID came, around in 2020, I had 7 years of practicing working at home, had the setup. I was really grateful for it. And I still do my work at home. So if you're watching a video, you can see I'm in my home office, that I don't meet with clients here. That doesn't seem professional to me. So I have places to meet with clients that are not in my home. And I have other attorneys that I work with that work out of their home, and we meet every single week by Zoom and stay very connected. So if you are doing a work at home business, it can work, but you got to make sure you stay connected in ways. And so clear weekly meetings with for a good reason. I mean, we discuss work. We don't just hang out. But that's about me. And I'm really happy to work with clients. I enjoy this job a lot. I enjoy working with inventors and helping them achieve their dreams, helping them overcome the hurdles and the barriers that are in their way to achieve what they need to build a business, to make it so that it can grow, they can help other people. I named my business Inspired Idea Solutions because I believe that when we get great ideas, they're from a higher power, that they're inspired. And so how do you handle those? What do you do with them? I'm here to help you decide what to do with them. And sometimes it's just go for it and don't worry about all the IP, because that's where you're at in business. A lot of times, let's protect that. And so I love to work with people on strategy. If it doesn't make sense, don't do it. But if it does make sense, let's do it right and not waste money. Thank you for joining me through this season. I'm Wayne Carroll, and this is Leveraging Inspiration. Have a great idea? Tune in to the Inspired Patent Podcast, Leveraging Inspiration, for all things intellectual property. From safeguarding your ideas with patents and trademarks to protecting them as trade secrets, we cover it all with real-world success and failure stories. Our podcast is your guide to leveraging your inspiration for success. Join us on ibgr.network or at leveraginginspiration.com.
And we got excited about Instagram